The first act of the mind, understanding. There is one simple, observable behavior that clearly distinguishes humans from both computers and animals: asking questions. Logic specializes in questioning. The three most basic questions you ask are whether, what, whether, why, that is, what is it, and why is it. These are dealt with in the three parts of logic. The part that most clearly distinguishes humans from computers is the first, understanding of what, an essence, the nature of a thing. Computers understand nothing. They merely store, process, relate, or regurgitate data. A baby often goes around pointing to everything he sees, asking, "What's that?" The baby is a philosopher. "What's that?" is philosophy's first question. The act of understanding, or simple apprehension, as it is technically called, produces in our minds a concept. We do not merely understand concepts, we understand reality by means of concepts. Concepts are amazing things. They can do what no material thing in the universe can do. They can transcend space and time. Nobody can be in two places at the same time. Concepts have at least 5 characteristics that material things do not have. They are spiritual or immaterial, abstract, universal, necessary, and unchanging. Concepts are spiritual. Compare the concept of an apple with an apple. The apple has size, weight, mass, color, kinetic energy, molecule, shape, and takes up space. The concept does not. It is in your mind, not your body. Between these two material things, the apple and the word apple, there is the concept. The concept is not just the physical apple or the visible word or even the sense image, which is somewhat between a physical and a spiritual thing. When a thing is known, it acquires a second existence, a mental existence. The thing becomes a thought. No galaxy, no physical energy, no cell, no animal can do this. Only a mind can give a thing a second life. Every language speaks of the human mind, our intellect, as doing something more than the animal senses do, as going deeper or below the surface, or penetrating what is sensed, like an X-ray, as going beyond appearances to reality, beyond seeing to understanding. Only because we distinguish between appearance and reality do we ask questions. There would be no philosophy and no science without this distinction. 2. Concepts are abstract. The English word abstract comes from the Latin abstraho, to draw from or drag out of. Our mind extricates or separates something from something else. What is this something? Technology and art both flow from this human power of abstraction. The next time you hear someone say, "I'm a concrete, practical person and I hate abstractions," remind them that babies are very concrete and uncivilized. Concepts are universal. Ask a child what he wants and he may answer everything. He has formed a universal concept. Most concepts are usually relatively universal, not absolutely universal like everything or something or being. For example, a tree is a universal concept because it is a concept not only of that one tree in your yard, but of all trees. Appearances are particular, but essences or meanings or the natures of things are universal. You cannot touch them or feel them. You can only understand them. They are known by concepts. 4. Concepts. Relations between concepts are necessary. Every tree necessarily has leaves. Every triangle necessarily has 3 sides. A tree may or may not have many leaves, but it must have leaves. A triangle has to have 3 sides. That is dictated by its essence, which is grasped in the concept. 5. Concepts are unchanging. 2 plus 2 can never become other than 4. But 2 bunnies plus 2 bunnies can become more than 4 bunnies. The concept blue can never become not blue, but the sky can become not blue. The nature of a thing which is known by a concept is unchanging, but things which are known by sense experience are changing. Humans change. Human nature does not. The concept of being is implicit in every other concept. For example, when we know what a house is, we know what a house is. We know its being, its essence, its reality, its substance. The concept of being is like the genie in the bottle. Once the bottle is opened, it grows so large that it fills the whole sky. This is crucial to logic as well as philosophy, for all of logic really is about two words, two very common yet profound little words, is and therefore. Is the first word that relates two concepts to each other in a proposition, the subject and the predicate. Man is mortal. A tomato is not a fruit. Therefore, in the word that relates two or more propositions, the premises and the conclusions in an argument. All men are mortal, therefore none are immortal. Tomatoes are vegetables, and vegetables are not fruits. Therefore, tomatoes are not fruits. A concept exists only privately in an individual mind. A term is in the public domain. A term expresses objectively what is known subjectively in a concept. A concept is a person's subjective knowledge of a term. A term is the most simple and basic unit of meaning. A term is simply any word or group of words that denotes an object of thought. The English word term comes from the Latin terminus, which means end. A term is one of the two ends of a proposition, as the first and last points of a line are the two ends of the line. For a term is either the subject, the beginning, or the predicate, the end of a proposition when it is in a proposition. A term is simply any word or group of words that denotes one object of thought. Terms are never either true or false. Only propositions are true or false. You will learn how to change ambiguous terms into unambiguous terms in the chapter on defining terms. The fact that many terms are universal, predicable of many things, has given rise to one of the classic problems in the history of philosophy, the so-called problem of universals, first raised by the ancient Greek logician Porphyry. The problem arises when we ask this question: what is there in reality that universal terms refer to, especially abstract universal terms like beauty or humanity? Plato thought that universals exist. He called these universals forms or ideas, not ideas in minds, but ideas outside of minds, objective truths, not thoughts, but the objects of thoughts. He believed there were two kinds of reality, two worlds, a world of concrete, material, individual things in space and time that we know by our bodily senses, and another world of immaterial, universal forms that we know with our own minds through concepts. The two worlds theories seems fantastic to common sense, and an example of what one philosopher, Alfred North Whitehead, calls the fallacy of misplaced concreteness, treating an abstract aspect of a thing, its essential nature, as if it were another concrete thing. This theory of Plato's is sometimes called extreme realism because it claims that universals are extremely real, so to speak, just as real as individual things, in fact more real. They are timeless and immortal and unchangeable. A beautiful face changes with age, but beauty does not change. The theory most totally opposed to Plato's is called nominalism. The 14th century medieval philosopher William of Ockham is usually credited for inventing the theory, and modern philosophers such as empiricism, pragmatism, Marxism, positivism have embraced it and made it popular. Aristotle, as usual, takes a middle position between these two extremes, and his view accords best with common sense. His position was developed by the Arabic philosopher Avicenna and by St. Thomas Aquinas in the Middle Ages. It is called moderate realism, and it holds that essences are objectively real, contrary to nominalism, but not real things, contrary to extreme realism. A universal form such as humanness exists in the world only individually, but the same form or nature exists in the mind universally by abstraction from individuals. So according to Aristotle, the nominalist is right to say that universality is only in the mind, not in things, but wrong to say that there is nothing in reality that is objective of universal concepts. And the extreme realist is right to affirm that universals are objective, real, and not just names, but wrong to think that they are substances. Aristotle's technical term for concrete individual things was substances. They are the forms of substances. For example, the treeness of trees, the humanness of humans, the beauty of beautiful things, the redness of red things. Some are essential forms like humanness, which are things must have in order to be what it is. Others are accidental forms like redness, which a thing can gain or lose and still remain what it is, as when a tomato changes from green to red. On the other hand, if universals are not real at all, then we have the even more radical consequence of skepticism. Reality is an unknowable chaos, and so-called universal truths are merely subjective and man-made, including all principles of science and ethics. Terms have extension and comprehension. The extension of a term is simply all the real things the term refers to, the population of a term, so to speak, in the world. For example, the extension of man is the 7+ billion men who exist. Or if man is taken exclusively instead of inclusively, then it is the extension of 3.5 billion males. The comprehension of a term means that the term's inner meaning, as distinct from its external meaning, population. The word comprehension here does not refer to our mind's act of comprehending, that is, understanding the term, but rather all the meaning that the term comprehends or includes within itself. For example, the comprehension of man is rational animal. Logical divisions are outlines analyze the extension of a term. Logical definitions analyze the comprehension of a term. As comprehension increases, extension decreases. As comprehension decreases, extension increases. When we add attributes to increase the comprehension of a term, we add to its meaning but decrease its reference. For example, animal has more extension than man, for there are only 7 billion men, but trillions of animals, including both rational animals, men, and irrational animals, brutes. But animal has less comprehension than man, for animal means only a living and sensing thing, while man means a living and sensing thing with reason. As terms become more abstract, they lose comprehension and gain extension. The statement is not about all individuals that have the nature of male and the nature of female, but about those natures in abstraction from the individuals that have them. Those who reject all generalizations because they can find some exceptions to these are thinking only of the concrete sense level of extension, not of the abstract conceptual level of comprehension. They are operating like cameras, sense experience plus computers calculating the quantities of extension, but not like human minds understanding essences and natures of what's.